Honestly, I've just got to start going on dates for the plot and the plot alone. Hi! So today I'm going to be reacting to submissions from viewers about horrible date story times that they've been on, like just stories about like the terrible dates that they've been on. And I'm excited. And I'm also at the very end gonna tell one or two of my own horrible date stories because I've got a few. Not a whole lot, but a few. So I figured I should contribute. But let's start with your guys' first. Okay. Okay, first one. This one says, okay, so a couple of years ago, I went on a date with somebody I had matched with on Tinder. That should have kind of set it for me that it wasn't going to go well. B, I was young and I don't know if I can't read or if, like, it's typed incorrectly, but that should have said it for me that it wasn't going to go well, but I was young, so I get in the car. She's driving and I hear the noise as in one of us isn't wearing our seatbelts, but I have mine on and I look over and she doesn't have hers on. And she goes, oh yeah, sorry, I know that's probably annoying, but I hate wearing my seatbelt. So I cut it out a long time ago and bought the insert for it for when I have guests so they don't hear the alarm, but I forgot it at home, so the sound will go off. So whatever, red flag number one. We get to the restaurant, and then apparently she was nervous for the date and got super high beforehand, and it was kicking in for her at the restaurant. And she was flirting with the waiter the whole time, and I was just kind of there. And then we get back to my place, talking about, I had a great time. Great time with who? Great time with who? That's crazy. First of all, wear your seatbelt, kids. Wear your seatbelt. What do you mean you cut your seatbelt out? The fact that they even sell inserts for that is, like, crazy. Like, shouldn't that be illegal? I'm sure they're for something else. Like, I'm sure they have a different purpose. But that's ludicrous, if you will. That's crazy. I'm gonna assume you never went on a second date with her. I wouldn't have. But that's insane. And then to flirt with the waiter. Wow. That is a horrible date. You're right. I'm very sorry for that. Great time with who? Okay, let's go to the next one. Worst date ever. We had gone ice skating together a few weeks prior and had a great time. It was my first time on skates in 4 years after breaking my left wrist playing hockey, and I was nervous, but she had really helped me feel comfortable on skates again. Skate date number 2 rolls around, and I'm really starting to feel confident on my edges again, and I start working my crossovers to build some speed and show off a little. That goes great until at the very end of the night. I end up getting a tiny bit off balance and realize I'm going to fall. In an effort to avoid breaking my wrist again, I lift my left arm up and in doing so, inadvertently put my right arm down, breaking my right wrist in near perfect mirror fracture of the left. She did take me to urgent care and even drove me home after, which was really sweet. So that's like not a horrible date because the person was terrible, which is good. But that's still an embarrassing thing to happen on a date, and a very unfortunate thing to happen on a date. Also, especially if like the reason you hadn't skated in a while is because you broke your left wrist, and then like you're finally skating again and then you break your right. That like feels like a sign from the universe that perhaps you should put down the skates. No more skates. You don't have any wrists left, so. What would you break next? I feel like the fact that she brought you to urgent care and was very nice about it helps, though. Kudos to her. I'm glad that this date wasn't horrible because of a person, but I'm sorry that you broke your wrist. Okay, next one. It's a little short. One of the first dates I went on, I told the girl I'd rather just be friends because she was a little younger than me, and she screamed at me in public about how I was the youngest guy she'd ever given a chance, and then ran away. That's crazy. One, to scream at anyone in public is insane. Like, that's a whole nother level. Like, screaming at somebody in public is crazy. But to scream at somebody that you are on a first date with in public, get a grip. Like, be so for real. Like, just like touch grass. Experience a critical thought. That's crazy. I'm very sorry that that happened to you. Also, like, at least you were, like, nice enough to explain why you wanted to just be friends and, like, set that boundary instead of just, like, ghosting her or, like, lying about the reason. To scream at you in public is crazy. That's crazy. Okay, next one. I live about a 40-minute drive to work, and at the time I started working at 7 a.m., so I was getting up at 5 a.m. to get ready and leave by 6. This is relevant, I promise. I match with a girl on Tinder, and we start talking over Snapchat. She lives in Sheboygan, which is 2 hours north of where I live. So when we decide to try and meet up, I go right after work and drive the hour to meet her. We get to the restaurant she picks out, and she spends the entire meal complaining about all the people that she hates. And there's a lot. Now, I don't mind some shit talking about crappy people, but when that's literally the entire date, I was hoping for more first date topics, learning about each other and our likes and dislikes. Literally all she seemed to talk about was all the people she hated and why. The entire date was her rant. After the meal, we ended up driving around Sheboygan for about an hour, and I kept hoping she'd shift the conversation to more about her, but no. The entire car ride, she kept hate ranting. Again, it would have been different if she had been talking about one of her passions or a hyperfixation she was currently into. That would have been lovely. I adore that. But it was just rage. Then when I finally go to drop her off at her apartment, she won't get out of the car. She keeps going. I'm trying to politely end the date with a, hey, I had a nice time, but have a good night, and similar goodbyes, and she'd acknowledge it, start to go, and then find a new topic to jump into. She spent like 10 minutes talking with my car door open. It was about 10 at night when I finally started to make the 2-hour drive home, so I could get 5 hours of sleep before getting up for work the next morning. Oh my god. Red flag. Instant red flag. Don't get me wrong, I love a good gossip session. However, I agree, I don't think that's like first date conversation. And like, if all somebody can talk about, especially their first time meeting you or like first date, is like how much they hate people and all of the people that they hate, that's just so much negativity for one, and for two, like, they probably talk that way about everybody, right? And so it's not really someone you want to associate yourself with, because they'd definitely be doing that about you. Like, if somebody talks shit to you about everyone else, they're also talking shit about you. I think that's just how that works, unfortunately. That's crazy first date behavior. And it's always so fucking awkward when you're, like, clearly done with a social situation and you're, like, trying to politely, like, get it to end and the other person's just, like, refusing to. That stresses me out so bad. Because when my social battery dies, my social battery dies. Like, I'm done with that social interaction. But I'm not just gonna be like, hey, shut the fuck up, stop talking, I'm out of here, you know? But, like, the polite hints don't always work. Like, I definitely understand finding things to talk about on a first date is difficult, and maybe you don't love small talk, but, like, that is definitely not first date chit-chat. Especially because, like, if it's your first date, you probably don't know the people that she's talking about, so not only is this information negative, it's useless. Okay, next one. I was dating this guy, and oh my god, he was a horrible catch. I mean, this man smoked so much that he had clinical asthma in 3 months. So we went out to the movies on a date. I thought it was going to be a date, but he brought 2 of his friends along with him, despite knowing how I felt around strangers. He kind of ignored me the entire time, and his friends hit on me at some points without any disruption from him. He tried to be flirty, but because of the situation, I would not reciprocate, and his friends would laugh at him. After it all, his friends sat between us in the theater, and he blamed it all on me. Oh my god. That's terrible. That's so terrible. It's one thing to have his friends, like, interrupt your date without you even knowing. Like, that's not good. Already very bad. But to then just allow his friends to hit on you and then wonder why you're upset. I swear to God, no thoughts behind. Like, experience a critical thought, sir. I'm begging you to grow a brain. That's crazy. I'm very sorry that happened to you, and I'm glad you're no longer dating that person, because that's just a whole nother level of just, like, stupid. Like, stupid. And also, what kind of friends hit on their friend's girlfriend, like, right in front of them? Like, why was that normal for them? What a dynamic, truly. Disturbing. Okay, next one. This was my last date with my ex, and the date was at Books A Million, and it was my birthday, and it was alrightish other than him constantly trying to kiss me and touch me, which I kind of didn't mind because I didn't want to make him feel awkward, but at the same time I was kind of uncomfortable. The bad part was the end. My dad was there, and he was trying to give me and my boyfriend space, which I'm very thankful for, but for whatever reason, my boyfriend saw my dad. Keep in mind, my dad has resting bitch face, and my boyfriend thought my dad was mad at him, but either way, that doesn't justify what my boyfriend did. Sorry, I can't read. My boyfriend flicked off my dad, Me and him were hugging. He saw my dad, raised his hand in the air and flicked him off, to which my dad didn't appreciate, obviously, and he came up to me and my boyfriend and shook his hand very aggressively and asked what just happened, and then my boyfriend denied what had just happened, and that led to my dad telling me to leave, and we broke up the next day. It's been 2 months since then, and he's now seeing someone, and I'm still kind of broken from that breakup. There's definitely more to that story, but that's the gist of it. I made an ick list, and I can send that too. Oh, she sent the ick list. Incredible. Okay, ick list. I will read it all for you now. 1, flicking off my dad. Big ick. 2, not respecting my family. 3, being immature. 4, kissing them was just ... ick. 5, saying they liked other people when we were first together. 6, making everything about them. 7, constantly trying to make me laugh while saying not funny things and making it cringy. 8, how they told me I'm not being present enough when they're constantly gaming and not paying attention to me. Been there. 9, said no to being my Valentine. Oh, that's fucked up. 10, then said I couldn't be my best friend's Valentine. Also so fucked up. Like, if you're not gonna be her Valentine, she might as well be her best friend's Valentine. Like, fuck off. Fuck you. 11, when they forgot about the color of my eyes and hair. That reminds me, I'm sorry, taking a pause from this story to say that once I asked my ex-boyfriend what color my eyes were after we had broken up because we were still friends, and we'd already known each other for 2 years at this point, and he said he didn't know and then guessed brown. My eyes are gray. Blue. Motherfucker guessed brown. We'd known each other for 2 years and had dated. What? Anyway, back to her ick list. Sorry for the brief intermission, but like, insane. 12, would get annoyed or upset if I didn't watch Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or understand certain references. Never communicated when they were busy, when they knew I overthought it. That's the worst, dude. Lack of communication is legitimately the worst. 15, after a fight when they wanted to talk about issues and fix it, they would automatically assume I wanted space to let me deal with the issue by myself instead of us communicating and fixing the issue together. Again, lack of communication, relationship, killer. Fucked up. If you can't communicate, then you're not mature enough to be in a relationship anyway. Fuck you. 16, would get jealous if I responded to my best friend when we were on FaceTime and always wanted to know what we were talking about. 17, basically blaming me for everything after the breakup. I swear they always do that. 18, made fun of me for liking Billie Eilish, Taylor Swift, and Harry Styles. Things are popular for a reason. Like, they have millions of fans. They're popular for a reason. 19, would make sexist jokes to make me annoyed because I'm a feminist. Disgusting. That he would make jokes, not that you're a feminist. Just to clarify. I mean, I don't want to date someone super fat or super skinny. If they were, I wouldn't care, but I just wouldn't hit. I don't have words for that. I don't have words. 23, when they were really upset because I called them and woke them up from a nap. Naps are childish anyway. Simply stay awake. 24, not making an effort to make a good relationship with my parents. 25, making too much of a relationship with my friends and would call my camp friends his best friends when he wasn't that close with them. That's weird. 26, you want to come back, I can tell. Don't flatter yourself. Shut the fuck up. That was an extremely valid ick list. Like, extremely valid. Everything on that list was, in fact, an ick. And he sounds like a terrible person. And I'm glad that you broke up. For your sake. You deserve better. I think that heart was fucked up. Okay, next one. I went on a date with this guy. It was super fun at first. He was really, really nice, and it seemed like we had a lot in common. We were at a restaurant, and he kept doing magic tricks. I kind of love that, not gonna lie. I kind of love that. I know there's more, but like so far I'm like, yeah, good for him. Good for him. He even brought a deck of cards and was trying to get the waiters in on his magic tricks. I like it so far, I'm not gonna lie. And even that was fine until the very end when the bill came. I'm so sorry for laughing. Until the very end when the bill came and he decided to make the bill disappear and then try to convince the waiter and then tried to convince the waiter that we didn't have to pay because the bill was gone. I was so embarrassed. I'm sorry for laughing, that is really embarrassing. I also would have been really embarrassed. But that's also so I want to know what he did to make the bill disappear. Like, was it... Like, I would like to see this magic trick. And also, I'm assuming it didn't work. So did he make you pay? That's so... That's really embarrassing and, like, a horrible thing to do. But it's also very funny. I'm not gonna lie. Like, that's hilarious. I also wouldn't go on another date with that person, but, like, that's very funny. That sounds like something straight out of a TV show. Like, that's... I'm sorry, that's very funny. Okay, now I'm gonna share some of my own. Before I talk about my dates, I would like to clarify, just in case the people who these dates were with see this, or people who know them see this. I have no issues with the people that these dates were with. I'm sure it was just that we weren't compatible. Totally fine. I'm not, like, trying to make fun of you or anything. But I'm sure you also know that these were horrible dates, okay? So let's get into it. I'm gonna talk about two. The first one, I went on a date with this person and we were driving to the date, which was like an hour and a half away. So it was like a long car ride and we were like making conversation and they started asking me like about my job and the questions weren't really making sense because like at the time I worked at a natural food store and the questions they were asking just like didn't make sense with my job, but I was like trying to answer them to the best of my abilities without making it awkward. And then they were like, so how do you like working at a Planet Fitness? Again, I worked at a natural food store, so I was like, I don't work at a Planet Fitness. And they were like, oh, where do you work? And just tried to like pass it off, and I was just like so uncomfortable in that moment, because like, what? Huh? This was like in the first 15 minutes of the car ride, so we still had like an hour left. An hour and a half left of the car ride. And the whole date left at this point. But it was very clear that they had gotten me mixed up with someone else or something that they were like also talking to, and that was just like so incredibly awkward. And then when we get to like the actual date and the rest of the car ride, we just like didn't have much to talk about. Like, the conversation wasn't flowing super great, and we took, like, forever to decide where we wanted to get food, because neither of us could, like, make the decision. It was so fucking awkward. And I was under the impression that we were, like, going to see a movie and then getting food, but they were like, do you want to just get food? And I was like, sure. So, like, the movie, I feel like, would have, like, made it less awkward, because, like, you don't have to talk during a movie, you know what I mean? But it was so fucking awkward. The whole time we were eating, we ate in their car. Like, we got our food to go and then ate in their car. And they took like 2 bites of their food and then like put it away and like were talking to me, and then I didn't finish my food because I was like uncomfortable and just like nervous, and I couldn't tell if they like were trying to initiate like a kiss or something, because you know when people just like stare at you and like stop talking and like pause for really long periods of time in between talking and just stare at you and you can't tell if they're like trying to kiss you. It was like that. And then Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. Like, we got notifications on our phone like at the same time of people being like, oh my god, Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. And that really just like finally, it was like the final nail in the coffin of our awkward ass fucking date. And then they drove me home. So that was fucking awkward. And then the second date, I had like this on again, off again thing with this person for like literally a few years. And we had like never like legitimately hung out in person. It was just like a text thing, and we'd see each other every now and again with other people, but we'd never spent time alone. And our texting was like fine. Like, we got along super well over text, and it was like wonderful. And then we finally decide to go on a date, right? And we get to the date, or I get to the date separately, and they're already there. And I go in and I sit down, and they don't speak. Like, literally refuse to start a conversation about anything. And then when I start conversations, they give me like short responses that like don't really keep the conversation flowing or prompt the conversation at all. So you know what I did? I had to Google things to talk about. And they knew that I was doing this. I like made it clear. So I just like Googled fun facts and like read fun facts out loud because I literally had no choice. Like they were refusing to like keep the conversation going or start the conversation or anything. And then they started doing it, and we were like having like a decent time. It was like a weirdly good time. Like we were laughing really hard because like the fun facts were ridiculous. And it like seemed like a relatively good time aside from the fact that it was like not an actual conversation. Like we were just Googling fun facts. And then like they walked me home because I lived really close to like the restaurant. They walked me home and they texted me and they're like, oh, I had a really good time, like blah blah blah, and like continued our really good text conversation. I'm like, what was that? It was just like not good. Not a good vibe. Like it just felt tense and awkward, and I don't even know how to explain it, but it was not good. Okay, that was all for now. I do kind of want to do a part 2 to this because I love reading about other people's horrible dates. It's a guilty pleasure, I suppose. It was very enjoyable. So if you have a horrible date story, I have my Instagram linked in the description below, and you can message me on Instagram your horrible date stories, and I'll totally put you in the part 2. Also, I don't know how long this video was, but I apologize if it was shorter than most of my videos. I had a different video idea for this week, but it fell through, so I last minute had to like collect submissions for this one. So I didn't get as many submissions as I would have liked to. But I hope you enjoyed it anyway. I know I did, and I will see you all next Monday.